Trent Alexander-Arnold is leaving Liverpool, with now several journalists reporting that not only talks have been happening behind the scenes for months with the Spanish giants, but a signature being put to paper looks closer than ever and could happen within the next few days or weeks. But what we do know is Trent Alexander-Arnold's time at Liverpool seems to have a matter of months put on it. And naturally, this has sent Liverpool fans into a frenzy, including myself, of a mixture of anger, confusion, disgust, but kind of all underpinned by a feeling of sadness. You're looking at a local hero, a boy playing for his boyhood club that we've seen grow up on the football pitch. That player has decided during his peak years to leave on a free to Real Madrid, and just to rub dirt into the wounds and make it all that more confusing, Real Madrid are the club that have taken 2 Champions Leagues away from Liverpool during Trent's time there, making it even more hard for Liverpool fans and even more those who are in the city, making it confusing as to why you'd want to leave for that club in particular, no matter how many times you're told that you can't turn down Real Madrid. But the more I looked at the tweets and the more I tried to understand what was happening, rather than just shouting abuse into the void that is Twitter, the more I started to see that potentially this goes a little bit deeper than just a player wanting to leave. Now, this video isn't a true defense of Trent Alexander-Arnold in his actions or his decisions. It isn't really going to lean either way. It's just going to be my attempt of understanding the player, understanding how a 6-year-old can join the academy of his boyhood club, the club he supported, and how that club, that environment, can turn you into a player ruthless for success and trophies, and creating a fear within that player that if he doesn't reach his potential, then in some way he's failed, either himself or those around him. Now, you may think this is a crazy thing to get from just a simple transfer saga, but this all comes from an interview he decided to do during his time away at an England camp, where he sort of detailed and gave an insight into his mentality, his ambitions for the future, and again, that fear of not being able to achieve what you had set out to do.
What's your fear then? Is it not maximising your talent?
Yeah.
So let me lay out the sort of foundations of what we have in front of us, and then we'll dig just that little bit deeper. So this story seems to have split people in 2 different camps. There's one camp usually occupied by people who aren't Liverpool fans and who have completely disassociated from any time this has ever happened to one of their beloved players, and it's seen as a player who has done excellent contract management. Trent signed a 4-year deal in 2021, which ultimately left him, coming into his peak years, now 26, being able to have full decision making and control over his future. And that not only applies to the money he can choose to make, but also the club he can now choose to play for. And once again, that typical line that comes in from this camp is you simply can't turn down Real Madrid when they come calling. That's one camp. And then there's another camp, which is filled with Liverpool fans. And this is where I find myself in, which is, again, confusion over a player be open and honest with his love for the club, his want to win trophies with the club, his want to captain the club. And now it comes out in the wash that for almost 12 months he's been speaking to Real Madrid and manoeuvring a move away for free. And I think both of those positions are perfectly acceptable positions to have based on your association with the club and Trent and your want for Liverpool to succeed. But the more I look at it, the more I think you can hold one of those 2 positions while gaining more of an understanding of the player at hand here, and being able to look at this Trent saga to be able for us to be informed later on down the line with future players as to the psychology that goes into a player negotiating a contract, especially when it's tied to your boyhood club. And I think you can laugh at this all you want, and it is a sort of running joke online, but I think this is intrinsically linked to Jude Bellingham. So let me explain myself. See, Trent and Jude share many things, probably baths at this point. But what they also share is a very similar upbringing, at least within football. Both players joined their boyhood academies from a very young age, and from that age were touted as the talents in their city, the next best thing, the future of their football clubs. How much that was said directly to the two players can only be known by them personally or their families, but my best guess is that it wasn't a particularly great kept secret, and whether or not they were told at 6 or 10 or 14, at some point at a stupidly young age, they would have become aware that they were better than most of their peers, if not all of them, and the academy were going to invest heavily in their futures.
Final question for me, how far can Jude Bellingham go?
Oh, he'll be one of the best players in the world.
I've heard potential being thrown around my name since I was 6.
And when you're young and you just want to play football and you just want to get out on the grass and train and get to the next fixture, that's probably all you're focused on. But it's slowly building up an identity within you as you grow up as to how you view yourself. Now, you could say this happens up and down the country with hundreds of young people in football academies. But the reason I think it's important specifically for these two players is because Trent and Jude are exactly on the trajectory that they have been told since that young age, with almost no bumps in the road. And then during those 10 years, that narrative and belief being further and further embedded into the psyche of a young person that they can achieve anything that they want. They are in total control of their success due to their talent. That being festered and created in a player from such a young age doesn't then create a man who is particularly bothered about outside opinion. That doesn't create someone that is in the business of doubting their own ability, is in the business of limiting their dreams, that's in the business of putting any form of ceiling on where they can go in their career. And to the best of my ability, being completely on the outside, I think that can be applied to both Trent and Jude. But how do we make the connection between these two players over Trent's contract? Jude Bellingham, from the very beginning, has been incredibly confident, well-spoken and outspoken about his ambition, his talent, his desire as to what he wants to achieve in football.
I want to do everything in the game. I want to be, a footballing icon.
And his career has sort of replicated that, leaving Birmingham, saving them essentially due to the transfer fee they got, going to Dortmund, allowing for himself to develop in a league that allows for players to develop, before then making the step to Real Madrid, the ultimate pinnacle of success. And throughout all of that, he's been incredibly confident, sure of himself, sure of his ability, and some, not me personally, have labelled him as cocky or arrogant, overstepping the mark. Essentially, he's acted like he's been here before since he was 17 or 18. And so, and this does get a bit parasocial, I'll admit, but stick with me, I do believe that their friendship has allowed for those same traits that allowed Jude Bellingham to have the confidence to be confident, to have the confidence to be the man and player that he is, seeing those same traits that maybe have been left slightly dormant or untapped developed within Trent, truly, seeing those being displayed by essentially his best friend, I think has given Trent the confidence to speak more openly about his want for success, not be afraid to say to the media, to fans, this is what I want and this is what I will get. And there's two simple examples that show this and also show the increase in confidence of having this mentality. The first comes during the first game of last season, the 1-1 draw at Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge, where after the game, Trent speaks to the media, and off the back of a pretty lackluster 22-23 campaign, the first game after a draw, he openly says, we want to win the league. That is our ambition. That's the goal. And that's what we're going to do.
That's the thing. We've got a winning mentality. Our aim and our ambition this season is to go and win the league. And, we're not going to be shy about that. And nor should we.
And when I heard that, it stuck with me. There's a reason I can recite an interview from over a year ago. We hadn't really seen that side of his personality before. We'd seen his competitiveness, we'd seen his love for the club, but to be so blunt in his ambition on the first game of the season, that was a type of confidence that was new and was interesting. And then I think it was only a few months later, in a separate interview, Trent reveals that essentially his biggest ambition in football is to be a Ballon d'Or winner, putting it over other club achievements. And this was the moment where the disassociation from success and Liverpool Football Club comes into play.
I'd say win a Ballon d'Or.
Really?
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
the last one I thought you'd go for.
No, I'd say win a Ballon d'Or.
Okay, talk to me about that. Why have you gone for that one?
Because I believe I can.
You've got the potential to do that?
For sure. I believe it. Some people may call me deluded, but, I believe I can.
So without sounding too philosophical, I guess you could say that success and loyalty aren't linear, or at least they don't run parallel with each other, because there's no doubt that Trent has been successful at Liverpool. He won everything there is to win by the time he was 23, I think. And a massive part of that is due to the mentality that was created inside that 6-year-old when he was being told that he is the next best thing. The problem comes is because, simply put, it will never end. The ruthless pursuit of success and ambition will never end because you're living in fear of retiring having not done enough. That's why 2 Champions Leagues will turn into 3, will turn into 4, and then 5 won't be enough.
It's a hamster wheel. It'll never be enough. There'll never be enough trophies that you can win. There'll never be enough assists or passes that you make. There'll never be enough.
And not to get too far away from the point, but I also think there's a difference psychologically between working hard at something, knowing that you're going to have to get over the hurdle of talent and just simply trying to achieve things against the odds, compared to knowing you have the talent, knowing you are the best, and then having to live up to that talent in your ambition. And whether fans like it or not, and I certainly don't, at some point we have to accept that because of that desire for success never stopping, at some point it's going to cause actions for progression. It's going to mean that Trent will sit there and go, am I doing enough? And the football club is not separate from that. It's actually deeply included in that. And at some point, no one will know when, but Trent's vision on what he can achieve due to his ability detached from Liverpool Football Club. And I think actually that's the most hurtful part of it all, because as fans, we dream of every success under the sun, and a player who we've chanted for and defended and sung his name doesn't have the same vision for the club, because if he did, he would stay. It does not make any other sense. The question you have to ask is Given that background, understanding the psychology of the player, do you then accept his decision? And this isn't a video trying to make you accept his decision. I haven't accepted some of his decisions. I don't think he should have avoided the media for all of this time, while the two other players in contract negotiations have continually expressed their love for the club. I don't agree with the amount of effort I've seen Trent put in on the football pitch. Ultimately, we'll never know. We'll never know the money offered, really. We'll never know those contract negotiations. We'll never really understand fully the man behind the name on the shirt. I just think, given the context, we can begin to understand at least how we got here and then still disagree with the final decision. And that is my take on Trent Alexander-Arnold's contract negotiation, the parasocial edition. Now, if you did enjoy this different type of video, please subscribe. If this one gets a good reaction, I'll do more sort of relaxed monologue-y type videos. If not, we'll go back to the usual. And now my final message to Trent Alexander-Arnold. I hope you get benched by Valverde.